So, I mean, have you pulled a Rubin, as some people suggest?
I mean, I'm still pretty left-wing, and I'm still working at the exact same place. Look, I don't know. Maybe I was wrong about Dave Rubin.
Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report responds to Ana Kasparian of the Young Turks' apparent right heel turn. Emma Vigeland responds to Ana Kasparian's apparent right heel turn. She went on Piers Morgan the other day, and anyway, Emma's got a lot of thoughts about it. We'll take a listen to those. I'll pepper in my thoughts as well, and then I want to know what you think in the comments, but let's take a listen.
Sam's daddy says, I have a theory about TYT's recent swerve to the right. I think they are going on the theory that if you can't beat them, join them, but they are still on our side. We as progressives don't have the capital we need to get our voices heard, so they have to play their stupid game spreading this shit, but we'll take that money to grow the progressive movement. Or maybe I'm naive.
You're naive.
Well, look, so...
I'm sorry, you take $20 million from a 900 millionaire, and then it doesn't pay any dividends, and all of a sudden you're lashing out. It's very simple what's going on, and it's unprincipled and disgusting.
Well, I mean, look, I think that when you take that money and if they were to say have given people big raises or say voluntarily recognize a union without hiring a union busting a law firm allegedly because really
probably the new stakeholder didn't really like the union idea. I don't know. I
think it's partly that I would imagine, but also partly like, you know, the allegation, and you guys can read it. There was a Politico story about it in 2018. And also I would say that the NLRB complaint is public if people want to look it up, but they ended up having to recognize the union after a long legal fight. But I know firsthand that there were efforts to suppress it. There are allegations of retaliatory firings. Or maybe not firsthand, I should say secondhand, but I've heard it from multiple people, specifically about the crew who were basically being allegedly denied overtime pay. So people can look up the NLRB complaint or whatever is already public with Politico and then the other outlets that sourced their material and backed it up. And, you know, for me, I think that not voluntarily recognizing a union as a supposed progressive company doesn't speak too highly about the sincerity of those values, but at the end of the day, they're moving away from leftism, progressivism, even centrism altogether, it appears.
It's certainly not a good look to try and resist a union forming.
At the very least, the emphasis has been about how we need to cozy up to the populist right or whatever.
And it was the same way he apologized for the Caruso endorsement, but he endorsed Caruso the exact same way he's doing this whole I'm going on PBD and pandering to Trump voters thing that he's doing now. It's pandering, but in a way that, oh, surprise, it's really rich guys and really powerful people who are going to benefit. Maybe that's what we need instead of these corporatist Democrats.
So, I mean, we had, honestly, because we're being accused of attacking them all the time, we had I had not spoken publicly about my feelings about their union busting. I'd spoken privately to a lot of people before, and I appreciate all the kind words that I got, and some people gave me some information I didn't know actually last night about it. So just because I didn't want to start beef, and we get IMs about things, we tried to respond in the best way that we could, and then recently we've been playing that funny sound drop just because we didn't.
It's shameful to have sold a progressive show studio to a crypto casino, regardless of who's
Peter Thiel's involvement. Yeah, it's a overseas betting market that isn't even legally allowed in the United States, and to sell the naming rights of a progressive media company to a corporation, I would call that corporate media. I don't know about you.
When we made the Peacock thing, that was to get a new employee, pay employees. It wasn't this sort of thing where we're trying to start a whole bunch of properties that we own, so the guy who had $900 million and noticed that we had a lot of paying members and thought that was a good business opportunity got his stake involved.
And at the end of the day, you know, I'm now in a union. I am in SAG-AFTRA, which is because the Majority Report's a SAG-AFTRA signatory, so I joined that sometime this year. Sam's a part of that union as well, and I'm in favor of free and fair organizing without the employer doing anything but voluntarily recognizing the unions. Definitely not hiring a union-busting law firm on that front, but like,
I mean, it's our size. Like we've talked about unionizing generally before, and if we were TYT size, we would have had a union by now.
And so all I'll say here is like,
not that they don't have one, but that, like you said, the NLRB.
Right. I got off track. It was all to say that basically we held off on a lot of things that I think were worthy of criticism just because we didn't, because of my past personal relationships. And I would say Ana was a friend to me. I truly loved her as a friend. And I told her that. So it's very sad. But the reality is that my principles in this business about calling out people who are doing the why I left the left shtick to appeal to the right outweighs any personal relationships I'm going to make in this space. So with that said, since this audience is so interested in Dave Rubin and how much we ruthlessly mocked his arc of leaving the left from TYT, which Ana...
with Ana in the chair you're sitting in now at one point on the Michael Brooks show.
Laughing about it. I laughed about it with her. She laughed about it on air. We mocked this a lot. And in fact, Piers Morgan will play some of that mockery as well. Just to clarify things for folks, this is her explanation for her recent pivot.
But what people have said is, they said you were quite outspoken. I'll play it to you. This is what you said when Dave Rubin pivoted. Let's have a look.
There has been this prevalence of prominent figures who identify as the left, right, or on the left, who then later start to, cozy up to right-wing figures, and then it turns out that they completely move to the right wing because they're essentially paid to do it. They're used as tools by the right wing to essentially spew right-wing talking points while purporting to still be on the left. In fact, Dave Rubin's a great example of that. Dave Rubin used to work with us. He identified as someone on the left.
Dave,
yeah, go ahead.
Forgive me, Ana. Dave Rubin made a video for PragerU, Why I Left the Left.
Oh, I know.
He does not, in fact, state to the world that he's still on the left. I don't know who you have in mind, so I can only address the one name that you gave.
So, I mean, have you pulled a Rubin, as some people suggest?
I mean, I'm still pretty left-wing, and I'm still working at the exact same place. Look, I don't know. Maybe I was wrong about Dave Rubin, but I just felt that he, first of all, after he left TYT, he did lie about us, and that bothered me because we were still friends, and I didn't understand what was going on. So I was discombobulated about what was happening with Dave after he left TYT. He did leave on good terms, so it was weird. And, he kept saying that he was this classical liberal, but had trouble defining what that meant and had trouble reinforcing or at least backing up some of the claims that he was making about, his newfound identity. So, look, live and let live. Dave is doing his thing. I did feel that his pivot was strange, but maybe it was sincere. Who knows?
Well, it's interesting. Somebody accused me of being
a phone hacking liar per a court in the UK, which said that, Piers Morgan saying he didn't know about all the journalists that worked under him, hacking into people's voicemails for information that they could put into stories. Yeah, people say things about Piers too. Oh, great company Ana's keeping lately.
Well, I mean, she's hanging out with Glenn Beck. She's hanging out with Piers Morgan, and
the Glenn Beck thing was really jaw-dropping to me. I did a video on that too, but you should look that up.
Other right-wingers and doing a lot of interviews. It is interesting, though, that, Cenk's going on PBD and all that kind of thing. It is interesting that still no response to Sam Seder's both private request to have a conversation about this on air on either TYT or on the Majority Report. If they feel more comfortable with it being on their platform, they can do that there. So Sam asked that of Cenk in the summer, and then publicly, I guess, 2 weeks or so, basically said we can talk about this in a conversation. No response, but very eager to go to Glenn Beck's studio and have a conversation themselves. So I think
they are taking the what they have been credited for through years of good work with a lot of good people. They are packaging up that for the marketplace and advertising it through picking a lot of fights. They've been doing this for a long time. We, 2 years ago, put a video up. The original title of that video was Ana Kasparian is not transphobic, where we tried to talk about the birthing person bullshit in a way that was constructive and could kind of maybe lead in a proper direction. She didn't listen to any of that, and instead got mad that somebody said that we were treating her with kid gloves. Because the truth was, we have been. For my entire career here at Majority Report, it has been a tongue-holding exercise for like Wolfpack, fucking harebrained. How many packs are we going to start to get money money out of politics? We have been.
How about one that pays Brianna Wu 5 figures for
deny a genocide
to post on Twitter?
If you think we're mean, you need to understand that actually that has been charitable. So
it has been based on what I have asked for, really, in part because of and because of my personal feelings about the situation and because of how sad it made me. I'm not somebody. Trust me, you can ask my exes. I didn't break up with a lot of people. I stayed in way too many relationships for way too long because I tried to make things work for quite a while. That's not what happened here. So for us, I have plenty of wonderful friends in my personal life. I know you do as well, Matt. I don't need to put my personal relationships ahead of my professional integrity.
It's kind of inappropriate to do so.
Even though in terms of like closeness, there are very few people in this field that I felt as close to as her. And at one point I would say she was my best friend in this industry. But I have to, cut bait at this point because she also made an accusation that I heard that I called her sexual assault titillating, which if I were to be charitable, I'd say she was listening to one of those like stupid crime right-wing podcasts that she seems to be a fan of these days, and they cut it up in a way that was misleading, or she's just lying about me because I would never, ever, ever do that. My case has always been that like some of these tough on crime narratives, specifically when a white woman is the subject of harm, are titillating to some people on the right who like to imagine themselves as white knights saving white women from the hordes of black poor people and unhoused folks in this city.
And again, you're being very kind because we all know as part of this business why Steven Crowder starts his show with videos of young black teenagers assaulting elderly women, right? Like we know what this is. And to say that actually what is being titillating is the act caught itself and not what this sort of poverty porn and violence porn is doing politically, you are fucking stupid. And you should not be in this business if you cannot take that for what it is. That you are stoking crime narratives, and people should watch the Jose Not a J video of TYT pushing Beverly. If you can maybe pull that up, I want to put it on screen. They keep trying to distract from the real issues and are making the audience that is loyal to them dumber. The thing about Peter Thiel is not that Peter Thiel's a polymarket, it's because of you promoting betting. The thing with this Jose
and crypto.
The thing with Venezuela, the Venezuela gangs and the slum in Colorado is not that gang activity happens in slums. It's that the neglect that has led to those conditions, which, by the way, there were gangs that weren't Venezuelan in those slums before that, but that wasn't a news story because what is a news story for this is we want to stoke fear of immigrants. So yes, this is the video that everyone should watch, and TYT can keep pretending that it's, they found a gang member in a slum, as if that's vindicating of this. They took a line, hook, line, and sinker from a law firm representing a slumlord to point to immigrants as the problem and not the overall conditions that lead to anything, any sort of gang activity, any sort of violence in places like this that is unaddressed. And it cannot be addressed simply by cops and border patrol. But here's the video. This is Jose, how the Young Turks pushed a right-wing propaganda story. And it would be nice if our communicators could actually address one of these issues directly instead of saying, she used Facebook, or look, there was a gang member. They're distracting from the point, and they're banking on stupidity of remaining viewers. And so, welcome to the Majority Report, everybody who's flocking from that fucking sinking ship. And I feel really bad saying this.
Well,
for all the people who are good at that network.
So many
which is most people that aren't the hosts.
So many wonderful, wonderful people that work there, including John Idarola, including Francesca Fiorentini, who is a contractor, I believe, and deserved a lot better herself. For a lot of folks that got laid off.
Mondale Robinson just left.
For people who, is one person in particular who I really liked working with, who may have been retaliatorily fired because he was a part of the organizing effort. At least that's a part of the allegations. And perhaps there was an NDA involved. I'm not necessarily sure. But those are the kinds of things that I just find to be... it's sad to see, but I guess at the end of the day, what strikes me from that, and we'll just wrap it up here, is the focus on Dave Rubin being a bad friend.
Yes. This wasn't about politics then?
I guess not.
For me, it was about politics.
But maybe the Jimmy Dore stuff wasn't about politics either. For me, it was always about his bad politics. At the end of the day, he did, by the way, sexually harass Anna and was really horrific to Francesca Fiorentini over direct message as well. Perhaps those were just about personal issues, but I, at least for a while, thought that it was about principles. My issues with Dave Rubin and Jimmy Dore and now Anna and Cenk are about the politics of it. It's not about personal relationships because, in fact, if I were more focused on maintaining personal relationships, I wouldn't have even said anything at all. But now we've said it, and that's the reality.
Wow. So much bad blood, so many hurt feelings. The more about this I watch, the more, I mean, it's like a soap opera, you know, it's just all of these people know each other and have worked with each other. And it's just, it's almost painful to listen to. You know, but I think you hear one side of the story and then you hear the other side of the story, and then the first side of the story responds to the other side of the story. I really would love to see, you know, Cenk and Sam, Emma and Ana get on and have this conversation face to face. Maybe we're headed that direction. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like Cenk and Ana have kind of put the walls up, but we'll see. You know, I mean, this stuff moves fast. Anyway, I want to know, what else do I need to check out here? What am I missing? Let me know in the comments.